All right, it's the next day, and we're continuing to read Call to Serve, Autobiographies of Don and Doris and Roth. So we're reading from the first section, which is what Dad wrote.
It should have said book 1 and book 2.
Okay, book 1, which is what Dad wrote, and I'm going to be reading chapter 5, My Education, Washington Missionary College. So this is from Dad's perspective. I arrived in Tacoma Park, Maryland in June 1945 to attend Washington Missionary College, WMC, just one day after I graduated from Greater New York Academy. The summer school session had started 2 weeks previously, but I enrolled anyway in 2 courses when they were well into the class schedule. When my father left to return to our home on Long Island, I felt...
mine?
This is Dad's. This is Dad's part.
Okay.
I felt, quote, on my own, unquote, for the first time in my life. I knew nobody on the campus at that time, and neither did I know any of the faculty. I had no relatives nearby, so after a few days, I had a case of, quote, aloneness jitters. After a few days of attending classes,
aloneness
jitters, I visited the office of the manager of the Washington College Press. I had written in advance from New York to request a job, and they accepted me for student labor. When I started working 30 hours a week and taking 2 college courses, I soon lost all of the, quote, aloneness that I experienced. Work experience. At the college press, I became a, quote, printer's devil. This is a beginning printer who's given all of the cleanup jobs in the type room, one of the several departments of the college press.
Where did he come from?
From Ohio. Well, no, from New York. He was at Greater New York Academy. My hourly pay was 27 cents an hour, and the credit went to my account in the business office and not into my pocket.
27 cents an hour?
27 cents an hour. Bill Uppenkar, a native of Cleveland, Ohio, who wanted us to become a minister.
Uppenkar?
No, who wanted to become a minister but never was able to finish college, served as my foreman. And here's a photo with a caption that says, Don at the Washington College Press, where he worked for 5 years to earn his way through college. Okay, I'm going to show the video. Okay. I later took part in his funeral service in Loma Linda, where he lived during retirement. Bill took me under his wing and started teaching me some of the basic elements of printing. I learned about this is Bill Uppenkar. Openkar.
Is it?
What? It's O-P-I-N.
Open.
C-A-R. Openkar.
Openkar. Okay.
Okay. I learned about the linotype, the Elrod machine, which made metal strips for spacing, and the Ludlow machine, which made headlines in various sizes. I found that they gave me jobs to do which required a lot of brain work, but not very much physical exertion. I also found out how to make up a page from a dummy using linotype slugs, lead spaces for pictures, gutters for spaces between columns, and headings for the pages. I started Gutters. I started out making up the dummy for the Columbia Union Visitor, the weekly paper for the Columbia Union Conference, a unit of church organization comprised of the Middle Atlantic states. And here is a photo. It says, Don was active in the Master Comrade Club of the Washington area. He is shown here in the back with Conference MV Secretary Warren Wittenberg. In front are GC youth leaders T.E. Lucas and E.W. Dunbar. Okay, so here is the photo. School paper, the Sligonian. Soon I did makeup on pages for the Sligonian, the college newspaper. It once again generated interest in utilizing my academy talent of writing and editing. When the fall term began in September, I asked the editor if he wanted someone to work as a reporter for the paper, and I was promptly accepted. I recall with clarity the first assignment the editor gave to me. I wrote a feature story about a retired president of the General Conference who lived a few houses up Carroll Avenue from the college, Elder William A. Spicer. I had never before met a high-ranking denominational official, so I was awed. The story appeared in the Sligonian under my byline, and I felt like the happiest writer on the campus. That continued my bent.
Happiest writer?
Writer, yep. Thus continued my bent for writing and editing. I eventually became editor of the Visitor, and later served as editor of an overseas paper, the Far Eastern Division Outlook. Even in retirement, the Far Eastern Division Outlook. Even in retirement, I continue as editor of the AIMS, AIMS, Adventist International Medical Society Journal, and my own church's newsletters, the Calumet News and Notes. I readily became acquainted with the men's students in North Hall. I attended morning and evening worships and soon found that the only place I could really study without noise and interruption was the college library, right next door to the dorm. My first two classes were Daniel and Revelation and beginning accounting. Despite my late start, I earned an A in both classes for the summer. Good for him. New friends. I made many new friends, and a few became lifelong friends. One of the first persons I met when the regular term began was Roscoe Bartlett, a former student colleague of mine from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I also met for the first time a Southerner, Pat McMahon of Jackson, Mississippi, a tall, slow-speaking fellow. Pat liked people and seemed to have all kinds of time on his hands.
I remember Pat.
At first, he did not have a job, but later became a night watchman. Pat became one of my best friends in college. We were compatible, so we went places together, including a hitchhiking trip to New York City to visit my parents. Later, Pat graduated from college with a major in business and eventually became president of the largest insurance company in his home state of Mississippi. When Pat retired, he and his wife, Jean, lived in Bradenton, Florida. Unfortunately, after a couple of years of... Jean McMahon. After a couple of years of active retirement, Pat suffered a heart attack one day while mowing his lawn and died within hours. I flew to Florida to conduct his funeral service. Wow. Died mowing his lawn.
Pat McMahon.
Pat McMahon. Another friend was a fellow major in history and theology, Richard Fearing, who became president of our own graduating class of 1950.
Yeah, I remember him well.
Okay. He and I started work at the same time in the former East Pennsylvania Conference and then ended our active days of denominational service and retired at the same time. He and his best friend, John Kroenke, both lived in Florida for many years.
How do you spell that?
Kroncke.
Kroenke.
Isn't that what I said? I think I said Kroenke.
I thought maybe it sounded like Conky. Okay.
Dick's first wife, Cleoma, died earlier, and he then married Pat's widow, Jean. I flew to Florida once again, this time to conduct the wedding of Dick and Jean.
Jean McMahon. What's the last name?
So this is Dick. So it was Dick Fearing, or Richard Fearing.
Uh-huh.
Dick's first wife, Cleoma, died earlier, and then he married Pat's widow, Jean.
I don't remember
So
that.
this would be Jean Fearing. Okay.
I don't know that I know her.
So there is a photo that says, Dawn arranged to have a mission team from the South Pacific give a program at the college press. Left to right, Jewel Peak, manager, Robert Salau of Solomon Islands, A.G. Stewart, Union Mission president, Don and Jesse Caldrick, superintendent.
Caldrick?
Yeah. And there is the photo. College social life. My college years provided some of the most stimulating periods of my life, a busy time for work, classes, and study with a little bit of social life thrown in. During my first year at WMC, I dated a number of different girls, but never became serious with any of them. Then a longtime friend from the days when we lived in Pennsylvania, Doris Ann Beringer. Who's that? A member of my dad's church in Washington came to college, and I started to date her. Our social time together was limited because of all the rules and regulations made by Girls' Dean Minnie Abray, but we still had time Abray. But we still had time to develop our friendship. Later, I will relate more of our relationship, but suffice it to say now that I ended up asking her to marry me on Valentine's Day, 1948, in the Sligonian office on the 3rd floor of the old Columbia Hall.
1948.
1948, Valentine's Day, February 14. We married.
And where was that? It was in
the Sligonian office on the 3rd floor of the old Columbia Hall at Washington Missionary College. We married 6 months later, August 29, 1948, in the Allison Avenue Baptist Church in her hometown. The building no longer exists. Course selections. When I first went to college, I really did not know in which academic area I would major. I wanted to specialize in journalism, but the curriculum provided no such major or even a minor. One class, Journalism 1, taught by Miss Linnie Keith, who probably never had an article published with her byline in her entire life.
Linnie?
Yes, Linnie.
Okay.
Provided a delightful diversion from other less interesting courses. I took this course as an elective. I really had a strong desire to be a worker in God's cause, so decided on a religion major. My interest in history resulted in the inspiration for my second major. Our history professor was Dr. W.J. McComb, one of the dullest teachers in college. Fortunately, younger teachers made things more interesting.
Dumbest?
Dullest. No, not dumbest. Dullest. Least interesting. My favorite Bible teacher was a retiree, Elder W.R. French. In the class on Life and Teachings of Jesus taught by Andrew J. Robbins, we often diverted the day's topic by asking him about China or Mongolia, where he served for many years as a missionary for the church. In the process, Elder Robbins provided the interest I later had in becoming an overseas missionary myself.
What was his first name?
Andrew J. Robbins.
Andy?
Andrew. Yeah.
Andrew Robbins.
The manager of the business department, Dr. Sidney Tymeson, was the person the college asked to organize the church's Harvest Ingathering program every year. Other teachers and staff members who inspired me, and other students including Martin Kenmerer, Kenmerer. Kenmerer. William Shepard, president during 4 of the 5 years we were in college, and Jewel Peak, manager of the college press and my boss. He later became director of risk management services of the General Conference. Most students complete college in 4 years, but from the very beginning I knew that I had to work my way through, so I planned from, quote, day one that I would shorten my class hours and take 5 years to graduate. Doris did the same thing, and we were successful in graduating together. Food strike. It would be difficult to write about college days without writing about the big food strike of 1946. The food service in the dining room had serious deficiencies. The hostess inflicted very restrictive rules that made it difficult for special friends to sit together. As World War II ended, the soldiers and sailors came to college under the liberal GI Bill, and enrollment swelled. But these vets were older fellows with years of military service under their belts. They suffered under the academy-style rules of the dining room. Many students wanted to rebel. The ringleaders of the strike happened to be the editor and managing editor of the Sligonian, the school paper, Robert Darnell and Glenn Henriksen. In the spring of 1946, word went around.
I don't remember them. Darnell.
Yep. Word went around that nobody needed to show up for breakfast, lunch, or supper on a certain day. Posters mysteriously appeared all over campus one night. When the time came for breakfast, nobody showed up. The college administration never made a move even when nobody showed up for lunch. They reasoned that when the students became hungry enough, they would return. Then one of the school paper staff
They rebelled.
alerted the news editors of Washington Times Herald, Washington Star, and the Daily News. All three papers carried front-page stories about the food strike at WMC, the Adventist College in Tacoma Park.
Food strike.
Yep. When these stories appeared, administration immediately took action. Negotiations began with the student association. The head chef was fired. The head chef.
Uh-huh.
A new hostess.
Oh, he was fired.
Yeah. A new hostess showed up in the dining room. Prices came down and students had assurance of better quality food service. With these and other assurances, the food strike ended and we all returned to the cafeteria. At the next college board meeting, the president...
Nobody showed up for a meal.
At the next college board meeting, the president, Dr. Benjamin G. Wilkinson, probably past retirement age, resigned, and a new president, Dr. William Shepard from Southwestern Junior College, filled the vacuum. He presided over the school the rest of my time in college. Incidentally, the two ringleaders of the strike were suspended and did not return the following school year. Wow. And that's the end of chapter 5.